Like you, the amazing coach I'm about to share is brilliant at what she does. You're going to hear her passion for the work she does. And when she came to me, though, she had had 0 sales calls in 6 months until we did this. And in today's episode, I'm going to share exactly what changed for her and what quote unquote this is. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. I'm so pumped that you guys are here because I'm bringing on a client, student, an amazing coach that I had the opportunity to connect with. I always think like timing is divine when people come into your world at just the right time and the right place. And we're going to talk about, I think maybe you agree, Rachel, and we're going to hear lots from you, but just the power of words and how to get ourselves kind of out of this coachy space that so many of us get stuck in because we're in the bottle. And I just saw that so brilliantly happen for you. So welcome to the pod. I'm so excited here. We are joined by Rachel DeSaulnier. So welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, you're a podcaster too, which we'll talk more about because you're going to talk. So it's really fun when we can like pod together. Isn't podcasting, I don't know, people will still say, do you ever get bored? But I love podcasting so much because how other before podcasting could you just connect with people all over the world, make new friends, be able to tell stories? So for me, it never gets old.
Oh, same. I feel the same way. And to really be able to teach someone something where their attention isn't divided, right? Because
Yes.
usually you're already doing something when you're listening to a podcast, like you're driving or you're taking a walk, and your brain is like uniquely situated to absorb that information
Oh, yes.
when you're
Totally.
podcasting, as opposed to like video. We're so overstimulated with visual stuff. And so I love it. It's my favorite.
Yes. And the other beautiful thing from just a strategic standpoint is very few platforms can somebody subscribe and get a reminder right to their inbox. Like it's a direct line of communication to the listener, which is just so valuable. So,
Yes.
okay, before we dive in, I would love for you to just share with our listeners like what kind of coaching you do and how you ended up here, just so they have context for the whole conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am a registered dietitian and I've been a dietitian forever. I don't even want to guess. It's like 12 years or something. I don't know. Makes me feel really old. But
Same.
yeah, so I did the traditional dietitian stuff until I stayed home with after I had my third kid. I was like, I'm basically paying to go to work at this point. And so I stayed home for a few years, but that desire to serve and teach people was still there. And I got into weightlifting, and I had this like transformation, a personal transformation with like my nutrition knowledge, and then learning the power of strength training and how good I felt. And I was just like, I have to tell other moms about this because I, it just changed my life. And I figured out a way to do it. I have 5 kids. And so I figured out a way to do it with my life in a way that was sustainable, even with 5 kids. And so that's how I got started into coaching. And then I realized that there's a lot more to running a business than just the coaching part.
Darn.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got started. I was having some clients like on and off, right? But I think that when I started listening to your podcast, I started realizing that I really needed to change my messaging and how I was communicating on my podcast and in my emails to help people to be able to engage with me. Because there's almost this like barrier, right? You
Mhm.
are online. It's almost like they don't feel like you're real. You're just someone there, right? That
Yes.
makes content and you're probably a robot. And um so the stuff that I learned from you on your podcast and then when I worked with you, it really helped to transform that into more of a connection-based relationship versus I'm just spewing information into the void.
That's so
So
good.
that's kind of how I got started working with
I
you.
love that so much. There's reciprocity, which we'll get into that shortly. But what I loved about just connecting with you too is obviously we're geeks for all the strength training, And my so of course, anytime I get that, I was like, "Ooh, I love to talk about like how do we get more women lifting weights?" I'm here for it. But obviously, it was really great for us because that's where I came from, and so a lot of learnings have equipped me to be able to see, especially in the health and nutrition space. I mean, I can see it in all, but health and nutrition, I had a lot of fails there, like you, and so that was where so much opportunity came. And it's so funny too because as as I was wrapping up a solo episode, Rachel was jumping in with me, but the funny part about that episode that's so timely for this is one of the things I was talking about is the value of all the lived experience we bring and how we sometimes discredit that as coaches. It's like we get this certification and all of a sudden the timeline for our business starts then and we discredit everything from before then. But there's just so much magic to what you said that you probably don't even notice. Well, 5 freaking kids. I mean, I have 2, and so you have 5 children. So already I know that it was hard for me to get to a gym, get reps in even at home with 2 kids. So I can only imagine creating a system for yourself and the accountability for 5. But then falling in love with strength training, which is I think where you and I've talked about this is so many women are intimidated by that. There's a desire, but there's so much intimidation around where do I get started and what does that look like, which you and I got to work on in real time. So I just wanted you to hear Rachel's story and understand the value. Like when you hear that from her, you also have that. That's the important part to understand is there is this lived and learned experience that is so key to the coaching piece that we want to make sure we don't discredit. So let's talk about if you could paint more of a clear picture, even. So before you and I officially started working together, can you talk a little bit about you mentioned I wrote it down as you were saying it, but you had some clients kind of on and off and you felt like there was this barrier. Can you just paint more of that picture specifically what that looked like for you?
Yeah. So, I did a program where it was like how to have a podcast and how to get clients through your podcast, right? And I got sold on the podcasting thing, which was fantastic. And so I got a few clients. I mean, the majority of my clients are from my podcast, which is fantastic. But
Awesome. Mhm.
um, I was struggling with like actually being able to get them more consistently. And so it would be like I'd get two, and then there'd be nothing for like 8 months. And then I get a couple more. And there wasn't any rhyme or reason to it. I felt like I couldn't figure out why. Why
Yeah,
did
so it's
these two come?
more of this kind of roller coaster thing that you couldn't connect the dots back to.
Yeah, yes, I couldn't connect the dots, and I knew it was my messaging. I knew there was something about what I was saying that wasn't resonating with them, and I just didn't know how to fix it. And I would just like try random things, like throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, right?
Sure. Mhm.
And so I started listening to your show, and one of the things I love about it is that you actually talk about how to coach, which is really helpful. I mean, I'm a dietitian, but we learn all the nutrition and the science stuff. We don't really learn, hey,
Yeah.
this is how you really help people make changes. And I loved that about your podcast. And I really started like absorbing what you were saying. And then when you started talking about using the words like the activation language, and you have to listen to what your person's actually saying, not guess, not what you think they want. You have to listen and then use those words back, say those things back to them. And it started clicking in my mind. And I was able to really grasp in my brain what I'm supposed to be saying, like on my podcast, in my content. Um, and so that was kind of a big game changer for me because it's like I feel like so many coaches are saying something similar, but it's how do you get it to work in your brain in a way that makes sense? And you were able to do that for me because I'm pretty sure other people I've learned this before, but it didn't make sense.
Good. Well, I'm glad we broke you through that for sure. Let's speak to that piece. Like, what for you was the I want to talk about the results and I want to talk about an email you sent me and a few other things. But What for you, like, was the game changer? Can you speak to, like, okay, you came into my world and what made it made sense for you, if you were to know?
Yeah, I think just breaking it down into smaller pieces. And because I had always like collected market research, and I have a lot of market research that I get from my Facebook community, which is like gold, right? And what I learned from you is how to take just those little things that they're saying, like, I don't know where to get started, or I feel overwhelmed, or I just don't have time. And take those small phrases and really think about, what does that mean? What are they saying there? And how can I produce a piece of content that helps them to see she has a solution for this? And I think it was just taking something, and instead of trying to solve all the problems and all the attack all the pain points, it's just, this is a little thing, and make the barrier to them communicating super low. Like when you talk about
Yes.
having replies, like, this is no pressure, just reply and tell me a word. That's not
Yeah.
hard, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's really good. Lots of things are stirring in my brain because as you hit this, what I see, and I think you kinda did this before, and then gratefully we came together and you've made adjustments, but I honestly believe so much of the time is when there is a disconnect, we can feel it in our business. Like, okay, something's not working. I'm not sure how to put a finger on it. The More likely than not, where I see coaches make adjustment are in the offers. And they're like, oh, my coaching session doesn't have a Voxer access. I should add that. Or I need to change the name of the coaching offer, or they make it mean nobody wants it. And I am like such a huge like pump the brakes. Honestly, from the surface, that doesn't even make sense. Nobody's even been in that offer yet. Like that you don't even know if they want less or more Voxer. Those aren't the issues, right? That's the plane ride. The issue is you haven't created enough urgency in their brain. You haven't used the language enough for them to even identify like that they are in a problem or that you are the solution. And that's something that is truly the red thread in business. This is why I think a lot of coaches leave the industry is they actually don't take the time to do what you did, or they just don't know how, right? Which was kind of what we unpacked because it's usually right in front of you. Like since we've been on this show, by the way, in like the I don't know, 12 minutes we've been recording, Rachel's literally already given me what I call two activation phrases. And so the cool thing about this is I just keep a sticky pad around. If you are listening to your client and not making it about you or not trying to transform the language to make yourself sound more professional or coachy, your clients or your people that are your ideal people literally just give you the language to use. So one thing that she wrote is I had some clients, but they were on and off. Like, I didn't change Rachel's language, but that's such a perfect activation phrase for me to put into a piece of content because here's what it is. I loved working with Rachel. She's a dream client for me. And so if I want to attract more Rachels into my world, all I have to do is borrow Rachel's language and reposition it into an offer. And I think that is maybe the simplicity we were able to unpack together too. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it is sitting, you're so right. It's sitting in front of us. And I think we just, as humans, tend to complicate things more than we have to. And we think it has to be harder than it is. Not that it's not difficult work, but I think in this day and age, we're so inundated with perspectives, like listening and consuming content or whatever. And at
Totally.
times, if you just like what you were talking about, you picked up my activation languages, and I've been doing that with my clients and my people that join my Facebook group, is like noticing the things. What are they saying? And like being present enough in my own brain to even notice that. Says that's so important, because you can't be like shoveling stuff in your ears all the time and constantly like consuming, and not leave any space and quiet to notice those things, because you're not going to.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, then because there's so much noise and saturation, then we as coaches have to use the language that's going to get to the brain the fastest that is identifiable for them. So instead, if I would have taken your language and said, Are you struggling with client acquisition and enrollment consistency? Like that would have not hit you, right? But the fact that I know other girls out there will say those exact words. I was having some clients, but it was on and off. Sounds way different than are you struggling with client acquisition? Like that's lame. Nobody says that.
No,
Um
they're all saying that.
yes, yes,
They're
exactly.
all saying it and it sounds vanilla.
Totally. 100%. So when we have those milliseconds of impact, and when Rachel and I are talking about creating content too, I want to be clear, we're not just talking about social media content because what Rachel has put into practice is now in her podcast. It's the way she shows up and talks in her podcast. Probably the way I would imagine you have adjusted calls to action on your show. This is in our email marketing. This is on social, but this is also just when we meet people and talk to them in real life. We don't have the need to be in that vanilla professional coachy space because it's not lighting up the receptors in the brain that say, "Oh, Rachel's my person. She can help me." So would you agree? You feel like now you're kind of using this everywhere?
Oh yeah. I'm using it everywhere and I'm listening everywhere to people I interact with. And I love how you love to you talk about having conversations everywhere. And that has been so helpful because it's like you put your business in this box and it's like, my business is online. And you have such a great perspective because you're like, talk to anyone about your business. You're not talking about your business. And that motivated me to like, I do a like a little strength training class once a week in my neighborhood. And so those ladies are all ideal clients for me.
Totally. Yeah.
And I'm just having natural conversations with them. I'm listening to what they're saying. And I don't have the same amount of pressure to be like, it's just having a conversation, right? And if they're a good fit for me, I can see that and I hold that offer sacred like you talk about. And I can invite them in to join in with me if they feel like that's aligned for them.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, take it beyond the walls of your little office space for sure. Okay, so I remember I want to kind of take us home a little bit and talk about what's happened since we've been working on this together. It was a couple weeks after you sent me this beautiful email and you're like, "Okay, Amanda, it's been quiet. I hadn't had a sales call booked for 6 months and now by that time you had I think 2, 3 full paying clients." So how did that feel for you? Like what do you feel like was the biggest breakthrough that allowed that to shift for you?
Yeah. Yes, it was I had 2 clients and I directly attribute that to working with you because I always ask when I have a discovery call, I ask how long they've been listening to me. And so I can get like a timeline and they both booked in February and I did your program in January and started making those shifts in the language. And
So good.
said they had been listening. One said she'd been listening to my podcast a month or something. The other one was a couple weeks. And so it was like, I know the interventions I made from you. And then they both, booked. And so, and they were premium
That's
clients, like the people I want to work with. And so they weren't just this like, eh, okay, I guess
yes,
I'll work with them,
yes.
right? So ideal clients. And um, so I think the biggest breakthrough for me, hmm, I feel like I had a lot of mini breakthroughs. Like,
Yeah. It can be lots of mini ones.
yeah, like so when you would have us go and put our homework in, and then you sent me this Loom video in response to an email that I had drafted, and you were like, hey, like, just pull out this one phrase because I was trying to do too much. I was trying to hit all the pain points. And I think part of that is because when you are a coach and you're a business owner, you're taught you have to hammer those pain points. You have to talk about the pain points all the time. And sometimes I feel like it's a little too much. And I'm always trying to cover every base. And then that
Yes.
means that I really cover no bases and I sound just like every other coach. And so I think that's the biggest thing is like, and I still have to remind myself of that. Like I rewrote an email yesterday that was going to my newsletter and I remembered what you told me and you were like, just pull out one thing, like tiny, tiny little thing. And so I have to remind myself, like, okay, tiny, keep it really small. But people actually read those emails and people reply to those emails. So
Yay!
it's helpful, you know?
Yeah. Well, and like to chunk that down as she's referencing too. I mean, obviously she's in the health and nutrition and lifting space, but her email doesn't need to talk about nutrition and, having enough protein in and adequate rest and getting to the gym. Instead, let's just focus on I'm at the gym and I actually don't know what to do, right? Because that's a big thing your people are, right? But that's one pain point that's actually a really big thing. But if we just work on that language, then it's speaking to the person that that is their primary struggle, right? And I love that you even mentioned something we didn't go into is that oftentimes the language we're using is attracting a decent ideal client. But what we want to shift is like getting to know the premium person, like the person that comes into your world so richly, you're like, "Oh my god, I just love her." Like, that's how I feel about you. But it took me some time and dialing in my language to really get what that is, and that's available to all of us. It's just we have to take the time to work through that clarity, which is step 1 in this process of really identifying who is that premium client that when we wake up in the morning, we're like, "I freaking love her or him. I want more of them in my world," and giving ourselves permission, as you said, to hold the coaching container sacred for that person.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, you know, that concept was so helpful for me because it helped me to niche in my messaging exactly the problem I'm trying to solve for someone. Because in the health and nutrition space, there's lots of places you can go. And I was finding that I was my messaging was attracting something that I was personally going through, perimenopause.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to help people with solving that problem.
Yeah.
That's not what I do. I focus on the lifestyle piece that you have to optimize before you even know if you have a hormonal problem. Because you're never going to know if you have a hormonal problem if your lifestyle is trash and you're not lifting and you're not sleeping and you're not fueling yourself properly, right? You have to fix the foundation first. So that's who I want to target. And after I did your program, that was the exact pain point that these clients had was the lifestyle piece. Whereas if I was continuing my old messaging and talking about, oh, it could be your hormone. I mean, that's a piece of it, right? And I can help people with that. That's not my ideal, right?
Yes.
And
So good.
so focusing on that helped me to target like to a really microscopic layer the type of person that I am best suited to help.
So good. It's funny you use that analogy, right? Because I think you've probably heard me say this. Um, for your people, it's like putting whipped cream on poop, right? They want to adjust their hormones, but the lifestyle is so fundamental. But like what we're talking about right now is also a metaphor for coaching businesses. What you and I worked on together is that foundation. Now you can structure and scaffold anything off of it because you know who you're speaking to and how to speak to them. And then you can grow the ecosystem around that.
Exactly.
So good. I love it. I'm so grateful that you came on just to share your just journey. I think it's so relatable to so many people who are in that. Okay, I got some clients, they're on and off, but I want to transition into consistency. I love how you said you wanted to make the barrier of communication simple, and there felt like there was kind of like a wedge there, and now you've got that, and now it's not a finish line, right? We're just gonna keep chipping away at it. So I am so pumped for you for all of those things. What I would love to do though is I'm sure ladies listening are also like, dang, I need what Rachel has. So will you also tell us about your podcast and tell us where they can connect with you too if they have any questions and want to connect with you?
Absolutely, yes. So I have a podcast. It's called Effective Weight Loss for Moms, and it's strength training and nutrition for fitness beginners. So very beginner focused. If you just need a starting point and you don't know where to start, you can start by listening to my podcast. And by the way, my podcast downloads are way up too. So,
Yeah. Well, your
what's
your
funny?
podcast title is really on point too, by the way. It's very clear, which
Oh, thank you.
I love that. So sorry, didn't mean to
Thank you.
interrupt. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
you're okay. So I actually for it's what is this, April? So about 4 months now. I actually thought it was like a mistake. Like I was getting these like really high downloads and I was like, this has to be wrong. They've never been this high. And then they've just continued to like climb and climb and climb. And I attribute that to using that activation language in the titles. So
Totally.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean, 2 things on that. The activation language is gonna spark their curiosity, and I mean, to go deep, activation language is actually usually very high in SEO because it's as if they were going to Google to search. And so I find that's true across the board. So I love that you pointed that out too. It's like the byproduct of, again, the foundation of everything that our business is built upon. So boom, love
Absolutely.
that. I'm so excited for you. I hope you guys love hearing from Rachel, and I'm sure you can see yourself inside of her story as well. The program that I supported Rachel with is the first step inside the Best Damn Coach and is also a standalone program called the Premium Client Activator. We're going to drop the show notes to Rachel's show here and also a link to have access to the content and come inside the Premium Client Activator. It's literally the cornerstone, the foundation of everything you build your business on. And I would love for y'all to be a part of it. So thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you. Glad to be here.